Have you ever given 10 years of your life to a company only to be thrown away like you meant nothing? Well, that's exactly what happened to me. My boss fired me in front of everyone, humiliated me, and told me I was replaceable. But what he didn't know was that I had just discovered his biggest secret, and that secret would cost him everything. I worked for the same company for almost 10 years. When I first started, it was a small business with only about 15 employees. The company was run by a man named Mark. He was the owner, the manager, and basically the person in charge of everything. At first, Mark seemed like a great boss. He always talked about loyalty, teamwork, and how we were all one big family. And like an idiot, I believed him. I worked overtime. I skipped vacations. Sometimes I stayed late just to make sure projects were finished. I thought if I worked hard enough, the company would reward that loyalty. But over the years, something started to change. Mark became different. Around year 7, Mark started acting strange. He was always stressed, always angry, and he began blaming employees for things that weren't their fault. People started quitting. One by one, coworkers left the company. But I stayed. I thought maybe things would get better. After all, I had already spent so many years there. Then one day, something happened that made me start paying attention. I noticed that some numbers in our financial reports didn't make sense. Now, I wasn't the accountant, but part of my job involved organizing documents and invoices. And the numbers were weird. Certain expenses were listed twice. Some payments didn't match the receipts. At first, I thought it was just a mistake, but the more I looked at it, the more suspicious it became. One night, I stayed late at the office to finish some work. Everyone else had already left. The building was quiet. While organizing files, I opened a folder I had never seen before. Inside were several documents marked private. I probably should have closed it, but curiosity got the better of me. When I looked inside, my heart started racing. The documents showed that Mark had been moving company money into a personal account. Large amounts, thousands of dollars at a time. It looked like he was trying to hide it by labeling the transfers of business expenses, but the paper trail was obvious. This wasn't a mistake. It was fraud. I sat there staring at the screen, realizing I had just discovered something huge, and that's when everything went wrong. The next morning, Mark called me into his office. The moment I walked in, I could tell something was off. His expression was cold. He closed the door behind me. Then he said something that completely shocked me. He accused me of making mistakes at work. He said my performance had been declining, which was ridiculous. My work had always been solid. Then, without warning, he said, "You're fired." Just like that. 10 years of loyalty, gone in one sentence, but it got worse. He didn't just fire me privately. He walked me out into the main office where everyone could see. Then he said loudly, "This is what happens when employees stop caring about their job." I felt humiliated. Everyone was staring at me after 10 years. That's how he treated me. But as I packed my things, something clicked in my mind. Mark had no idea what I had discovered the night before. And suddenly, I realized something. He didn't just fire me. He gave me nothing to lose. When I got home that night, I kept thinking about those financial documents. I still had access to some company files on my laptop, and I had memorized exactly where those records were stored. So I started gathering evidence carefully. Screenshots, copies of financial reports, transaction records. Within a few hours, I had proof that Mark had been stealing money from the company for years. But I didn't want petty revenge. I didn't want to yell at him or argue. I wanted something much better. I wanted justice. So I contacted someone who would take this seriously. A lawyer. The lawyer looked at the documents and immediately understood how serious the situation was. He told me that what Mark was doing could lead to major legal trouble. But first, the evidence needed to go to the right authorities. So we submitted everything. The financial records, the transfers, all of it. Then we waited. About 3 weeks later, I got a phone call. Investigators had opened an official investigation into the company. Apparently, once they started looking, they discovered even more suspicious transactions. Much more. The investigation lasted months, and eventually the truth came out. Mark had been secretly taking money from the company for years, hundreds of thousands of dollars. When the investigation ended, he was charged with financial crimes. The company shut down. Mark lost everything: his business, his reputation, his career. And the strange part, I didn't feel happy about it. I didn't feel angry either. I just felt satisfied. Because the person who humiliated me in front of everyone, the man who thought he could treat people like they were disposable, had finally been exposed. Getting fired felt like the worst day of my life. But looking back now, it was actually the best thing that ever happened to me. Because sometimes when someone thinks they've ruined your life, they're actually just starting the chain of events that will ruin their own.
Every story has a lesson. Some are just harder to learn than others. From workplace scandals to the things that go bump in the night, we're just getting started. Subscribe and dive deeper into the world of Stories Infinite. New twists are uploaded every week. Don't miss the next one.